I'm going to slate real quick. So we have Tom Walsh, If I Were to Have a Podcast. Take one. Hopefully only take. Here we go.
Hang on.
Boom. Do you know what that does, Tom?
It hurts Gerry's ears.
Yes,
That's the point.
gives me tinnitus.
Yeah, tinnitus. That's how you
Don't worry,
sync.
you won't have it tomorrow. Get it? Tinnitus? All right. I'll get back to you. Thank you.
All right, it's been a good podcast.
That's all
everybody.
we need. That's all we
That's
need.
it. That's all that we wanted. That's all that we needed.
If I were to have a podcast.
If I were to have a podcast.
I'm going to try to give a little bit more of a intro this time.
Oh, so we're doing that?
No.
Okay.
All right, so today we are here with what's your name?
My name?
Yeah.
I wasn't
We're here
prepared for
with Gerry, but it doesn't matter. What does matter is that we are here with somebody very, very special, a man who has lived many lives, and also the first person in history to jump the Grand Canyon on a moped. We are here with Mr. Tom Walsh. How are you today, Tom?
Doing well, Mike.
Good, good. Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
For the people around this geographical region, they probably know me as a high school teacher at Dragut High School for 20 years, where I taught in the social studies department and primarily a psychology program.
Yeah.
And I pioneered the AP psychology program about 15 years ago.
Nice.
Before that, I was a financial guy. So I worked for Fidelity Investments for over a dozen years. I worked for Merrill Lynch, AIG, a number of other independent broker-dealers before I got into teaching at 36.
As I said, man, many lives.
Many
Yeah.
lives.
Many
more,
lives.
More than that, but they didn't last long, like cab driver and poker dealer and things of that nature.
Gotcha. I think you need to bring those back now. Yeah, I think that needs to be the retirement plan.
That might be the
Go to
retirement
poker dealer. So, Tom, if you were to have a podcast, what would it be?
If I were to have a podcast,
Yes.
I would talk about my book that I just published last year and the audiobook that's coming out this year of the same name.
And what is the name of that book?
The name of that book is Golden Soul.
Golden Soul.
Soul, yeah.
How did you come up with the name Golden Soul?
I knew I wanted it to be based in Sedona, and I had a lot of experiences in Sedona with energy throughout the years. So I knew I wanted to have the word soul in it. I didn't know exactly what else I wanted in there. So I actually threw it back to my former high school students on a page I have on Facebook, and I gave them 5 options. And Golden Soul came out about 90%.
Oh, wow.
And I took their advice.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. So tell us what the book is about.
The book, as I said, is based in Sedona. So it has a lot of Sedona, Arizona arts, culture, history. It also has spirituality, paranormal activity, psychics, mediums, UFOs, all the good stuff that Sedona brings to the table. And I had been writing that in my head from the experiences I've had over the last 10 years. And I also wanted to write a book that helped erase the stigma of mental illness. You know, I wanted to erase that stigma, or at least do my part in erasing the stigma of mental illness. And I wanted people to know, what the symptoms are of some very common illnesses, anxiety disorders being the most common, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. Everyone should know what the symptoms are so that they can do their part to get help, to step forward, to say, hey, I need help, or have a family member step forward and ask for help, because that's the first step. If they don't do that, they usually end up self-medicating, alcohol, drugs, etc.
Nice. And what made that so important for you to do, to bring awareness to it?
Well, I mean, I was a psychology guy for as long as I can remember, well before the advanced placement program at Dragut High School. But I grew up with my dad, who had some serious mental illness. He had anxiety disorder, panic attacks, panic disorder. He also had clinical depression. And they didn't know for sure whether some of the delusional thoughts that he had were schizophrenic or part of the mania of bipolar disorder. But regardless, he was dealing with a lot of things on a daily basis. And as a kid, I didn't know what was going on. You know, I didn't have any idea until I was probably 14 years old. And I started to have a couple of symptoms of panic disorder myself. My father brought me to a doctor with him. And the rest is history, as we say. From that moment on, I tried to help my dad as much as I could. But like a lot of people, even though I heard them and they told me that, maybe you should go on medication, I didn't. I didn't go on medication. I did self-medicate throughout my 20s. And then when I was 30, I said, I'm having twins out of the gate here. I have to get serious. And I got rid of alcohol. I went on medication, and I've had 30 very productive years since.
Nice.
One of the best decisions I ever made.
And you having twins was kind of the catalyst for that.
Yeah. My, when I was a kid, boys, they love their dad, right? My dad was a figure that was bigger than life. When he was depressed, I never saw him, so that didn't really have an effect on me. But when he was manic, that was the normal dad for me. And he was focused, laser focused, stayed up all night, no sleep, talking a mile a minute, coming up with ideas, having fun. People loved being around him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was contagious in a good way. People loved to hang out with my dad, and I knew when he got depressed because he was in his bedroom and he didn't come out. So I was trying to help him, stay on the right medication, stop drinking alcohol, help him when he got into some issues regarding the mania part of bipolar disorder. And then I continued to take social sciences classes in college, in grad school. I was 3 credits away from a school psychologist degree. And I actually, had some anxiety disorders that prevented me from graduating. And by the time I went back, it was past the statute of limitations. So I got my master's in education instead. So I have a lot of knowledge up there.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a degree in psychology, but many classes under my belt, graduate as well as undergraduate, and many real life lessons that happen every day, all day long, throughout my life.
Nice. Well, I mean, I feel like you really didn't need a degree at all to teach a drink at high anyways. But did I say that? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. We won't go there.
I didn't have one when I got there. I did have my bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay.
I had a degree.
Yeah.
But I didn't have my master's degree. But that's, instead of getting my master's degree in something specific like psychology, I got it in education so I could go into administration. Yeah. And then I realized I like the classroom and I didn't want to leave. Yeah. So I had my master's, but I didn't use it.
Gotcha. What kept you there? What kept you there teaching for so long? And because you started with finance and then you made the switch to that.
Yeah.
So what kept you there?
The kids, the students, without question. I loved it. I loved connecting with the kids on a daily basis. I loved seeing the light go on when they got a concept. I loved the interplay between the kids and me and the kids with each other on a daily basis. I just couldn't get away from that passion to be an administrator. Not that it's not important, it's very important. Yeah. And I probably could be a good administrator, but I just wanted to be in the classroom for the majority of my time, and I know administrators can't do that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, I stayed there for 20 years because I enjoyed every day.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every day in the classroom. That was the best part of my day. The meetings, not so much.
Yeah.
The deadlines, not so much.
Yep.
But the 90 minutes I was with the kids or the 50 minutes I was with the kids, bell to bell, learning, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, hey, as one of those kids, I can agree. You were there because you cared, you gave a shit, which everybody could tell. I mean, even from your recent book signing with how many people came out, how was that for you?
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you for offering up your awesome studios for the event. About 80 kids came to the signing. Sold about 30 new books, and about 50 kids who had already purchased them online through Amazon and Barnes & Noble, etc., had brought their books in to reconnect and have me sign their book. So it was a tremendous day. It was one of the best days of the summer and one of the best days of my life, to be honest. It was fantastic.
How did it feel seeing, you say 80 kids, but this is a span of 20 years. Right.
It was a fraction.
Yeah. Yeah, how'd it feel seeing people from the generations come back and show you support?
It was phenomenal. I used to tell the kids in class, I would say, hey, listen, if you see me outside in public, come up and say hi. Mm-hmm. I may not remember your name, but I'll remember what class you were in, where you sat, stuff that we did in class that I might remember that will trigger something we can converse about. I will know who you are. But I did even better than that. I thought I was going to be way off and I wasn't going to know any of the kids' names.
Yeah.
I think I got 95% of the kids right.
That's one of the things that really surprised me, seeing all these different generations coming in and just calling them by their first name. And I'm like, how the hell does he remember all these people?
It just came back to me. I tried, when I meet people, and, when you're a teacher, you got to be pretty specific. You don't want to call the kid by the wrong name. And, I would make sure that I would have the kids come up in alphabetical order, and I would something about them. Yeah. If it was Dan, and it was Dan came up, and he was he was going like this, and I'd be like, "Oh, defense, Dan, defense," and I'd go, "Dan, defense, defense, Dan," and then I'd like see that picture when I saw Dan.
What was Mike's?
Yeah.
Mike's? Oh, Macho Mike. Macho Mike.
Yeah, that's me. Yep, that's me.
Speaking of that, how was Mike in high school?
He doesn't
Can we
remember.
talk about that for a
I
minute?
remember everything, Mike.
Yeah.
I remember everything.
Tell the audience, how was Mike in high school?
Mike was a very good student. Very good student, inquisitive, open-minded, and great writer, thinker, and speaker.
I did pay him to say that. That's the only reason why I wanted to have him come on here, so I could take that clip. And I could.
How was his punctuality?
He may have come in late 1 or 2 days. I don't know. That didn't really bother
1 or
me.
2
As
days
long
a
as the
week.
kids got there, as long as they got there within a couple of minutes, because I was
Yeah.
taking attendance. I wasn't really a stickler about being exactly on time, but by the time I was ready to lecture or do the activity, you had to be there.
Yeah.
Or the wrath of Walsh came down upon you.
Yeah, the punctuality in school. Once I got there, getting to school was the issue.
Yes.
Okay? Waking up at whatever time we had to wake up at. But
Yes.
yeah, no, that it was a man. No, that was a good time. You're one of the most engaging teachers, I think.
thank you.
And something that I always looked forward to going to the class, which I can't say that for all of them, most of them. Any of them, except for yours. But yeah, no, it was so great, as he said, to see the generations of people come through. I remember at one point, because I greeted everybody as they came in, and I spoke to one person, and I was like, "Oh, when did you have them?" And they were like, "Oh, 2004." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy, right? It's almost 20 years ago." And then somebody else, I was like, "Oh, when did you have them?" And they're like, "Oh, 2011." And I was like, "Oh, nice." Somebody else was like, "Oh, 2017." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "We have this whole span." And it was like right after the other. And I just thought that was really cool to see. Unbelievable. Now, how many people, because I know from talking to some of them, but how many people have talked to you saying that you had some sort of influence on the career or the path that they ended up taking?
I have to say, during that day,
Yeah.
I mean, almost all those kids, because they had a urge to be here.
Yeah.
For some reason, I mean, not many of us go back and get in touch with our high school teachers. Never mind go to a book signing for our former teachers from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm humbled and honored that they came to it, and they all kind of said what I liked was, you made the classroom safer for everybody. We all knew you respected us, and we gave it back to you, and that was 1,000% they gave it back to me. And you introduced us to a subject matter that no one else had ever introduced, which was psychology and the human condition.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids went to college for psychology, sociology, any other social sciences. And now, I would say, I have about 1,700 kids in a former student Facebook profile group. And I would say 75% of them work in health services or human services in the Merrimack Valley.
Wow.
So they got their education, and they came back to the community that needs them the most to give back.
Yeah.
And absolutely 100%, I am so proud of that.
You should be.
I'm so proud of that, because if they got that from me, then I know I did a good job.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like it's difficult to find teachers like that nowadays, especially with how teachers are being treated, and their pay alone. Like they go through so much. They're just packing the classrooms now. I remember I actually ended up dropping out twice from high school, and then I ended up transferring to a different school, and it was because of teachers like you that I was able to graduate. Teachers who actually, gave a shit about the kids.
Yeah.
The classrooms were a little bit smaller, so we had a little bit more one-on-one time, but if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. So with that being said, was there ever a teacher in your life that was like that?
100%. Yeah, his name was Mr. McFarland. I changed the name in the book.
Yeah.
But Mr. McFarland, he was the varsity football coach for years. By the time I had him, he wasn't. He was just teaching. And he taught history, U.S. history. And he made it fun. He lectured every period, very interactive. He had like a pre-quiz prelude that he would say that reminded him of John Wayne, who was his idol, the big Duke. And the kids loved it. kind of engaged them right at the beginning of the class. It got us awake at the beginning of the class, and we were all focused and ready to hear his lesson, on, who knows, William Jennings Bryan or whatever he was talking about that day. If someone died, he kicked the bucket across the room. We always loved that. Couldn't wait for people to die. He'd kick the bucket, and he'd kick it across the room. No, but he engaged me in history.
Yeah.
And I loved his openness. I loved that he respected everybody. We all gave it back to him 1,000,000%. And he gave everything he could to every single class. And when I started to go into teaching, I tried to emulate that because that was what I thought a teacher should be. I had teachers all along the continuum, from very lenient to very strict, and I didn't think the strict teachers, for the most part, were getting as much out of the kids as the people that gave them a little bit of leeway, not to break the rules, but to possibly bend them, and to engage the kids that never would be engaged over here.
Yeah.
The kids at the top of the class, they're engaged all the way across. Every teacher gets to those kids because they're easy to get to.
Yeah.
But from, the kids who, like, you can't teach me, kids, to the kids that are, you got to do a really good job or I'm not going to pay attention, kids.
Yes.
Those are the ones you want to get.
Yeah.
And you don't get them over here. You can't bully them into learning. You have to engage them into learning. And that's what Mr. McFarland did when I had him for class, and that's what I hopefully did for the kids when I was teaching.
Yeah. How would you go about engaging them? How would you get them to actually, pay attention?
I did steal his. I borrowed, and I borrowed his saying.
Yeah, which is
from I don't know if you know about John Wayne. John Wayne, the Big Duke.
A little bit.
Yeah, he was in all kinds of Western movies.
Oh yeah, no, I know who John Wayne is.
Yeah, he's got the jeans on, and the guns, and the boots, and the cowboy hat. He's like, well, I'll tell you, little lady. Was that good?
That was good.
That was great.
Terrible.
We have John Wayne on the podcast today.
That wasn't very good. Yeah. but I would do that. I would say, hey, it's quiz time, because every day after a lecture, I would give them a quiz. And once everyone quieted down, I'd say it's quiz time, and I'd pass out the papers, and sometimes the kids needed writing utensils because they didn't bring them with them, so I had them, so like gun pens, pencils all across the room, and they caught them and got ready
Still
for the
have
quiz.
lead in my hand. Yeah.
Yep. You did. You still have a hole in your hand?
Yeah.
And then I said, is everybody in the proper quiz position? And they would look at me, and I would be like, are you neat in the seat, square in the chair, tall in the saddle, like the Big Duke? And I would do that last Big Duke right in the face of some unsuspecting young person. Who was never thrilled about it, by the way. Everyone else, hilarious. Yeah. But if it was the kid, no, not so much.
I was on the receiving end of that once. Yeah. All I smelled was onions. Yeah. No,
you can blame the cafeteria.
I will. I'll blame them for a lot of stuff. I remember it was a privilege. That's how I felt. I felt that it was a privilege whenever he yelled in someone's face. Yeah. It was also masochistic, but it was. I remember that. I'm so glad that you
just
did
trying
that.
to get their attention.
Yeah. Yes.
Just trying to get their attention, get them on the right path.
Yeah. Yes. And
then they listened to me after that.
They did. Well, after they could hear again. Yeah.
Like, maybe if we listen, he won't do it to me.
I think that was the trick. Yeah. I think that's what it was. That makes sense now. So I know that there's a lot of, we talked about the teacher that you had that influenced you, that is based off in your book. How much of this book is based off of real life?
It's a novel.
How much of this novel? We're doing that.
It's a fictional novel.
All right, but it's not a novella.
Loosely,
all right,
based on my experiences.
Okay.
So there's some major concepts that are totally fictional.
Yeah.
There are some that are partly true, partly fictional. Yep. And there are stories, like my mental health stories. They're true to the best of my ability. I didn't want to shortchange there. I didn't want to exaggerate. I didn't want to, explain it in any other way than exactly how I remembered it.
Yeah.
So those are true to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
The stories about my engagement in Sedona with the energy, the Red Rocks, the people, the mediums, the psychics, pretty true.
Yeah.
Pretty true. Yeah, I mean, I may have taken some factual information and added a little bit of fictional information, but I tried to be pretty true to the actual interactions with the people, especially because the book was based in Sedona, and I wanted the people in Sedona to know that I did my research on Sedona, and I also was honest with my experiences in Sedona, because a lot of people would have the experiences I have and never tell a soul, would never tell anybody. Because, you know, there's also a stigma to believing in mediums, and a stigma to believing in UFOs, and a stigma for a lot of things, you know? And some people just take that, you know, take information that they have to their grave, and they never share it with anybody.
Yeah, would you care to share some of those experiences?
Sure, can you be more specific?
Yeah, so do you care to share any of those experiences with either the mediums or the UFOs or anything? Like, let's talk about UFOs.
There you go. Now you're leading me in the right direction. It's a leading question. I'll take that.
Yes.
UFOs. I guess I'll start with the first UFO I've ever seen.
Okay.
I guess I'll go with that. It was 8 years ago, and I was out there on a vacation, and I ended up going on a UFO tour from the New Age Center in Sedona, and they had a UFO tour operator there by the name of Melinda Leslie, who is Joanna Lovejoy in my book. And for $75 back then, now it's $90. I think she upped her fee to $90. She took you and a group of people to a precipice overlooking Cathedral Rock, which is the most photographed monolith in Sedona. It looks like a W when you're coming down from the high school down Red Rock Loop, and it looks like a hand pointing to the sky in that particular picture. But that's where we were, and she would tell us. You know, I was very skeptical, to be honest. 8 years ago, skeptical. I didn't know what to expect. She said, you're going to see certain things in the sky. You're going to see planes. You're going to see helicopters. You're going to see commercial and military planes. And then she went on to explain that those have red and or green or white on the wingtip blinking lights. And they blink at certain intervals, like every 5 seconds, every 6 seconds, whatever it might be. They blink at certain intervals. And she said, do not, because she gave us Generation 3 night vision goggles, which you can see 50,000 times more stars than you do with your naked eye. But she also gave us a laser, because we were going to point in front of these moving objects, apparently, to get them to respond. So I was like, okay, we'll do that. And she said, do not put your laser on a plane.
Yeah.
If you put your laser on a plane, military, helicopter, or commercial, you will get a $250,000 fine. Ooh. So I was like, definitely not going to do that. Yeah. Everyone just looked at each other like, I'm not going to use it. Yeah. I'm not going to use it because I'm going to be tempted. Yeah. But she was pretty good. I mean, when someone did see something and it was a plane, she would say, it's a plane, don't put the laser on it. You know, she would tell us. So, you know, it was about an hour after sunset. And she said, you know, you might see the International Space Station go across, you know, kind of looking like a satellite, going across slowly across the horizon. You're going to see stars. Stars are going to be popping up, you know, from different galaxies all over the place. And she talked a little bit about the constellations, but not too much. You're going to see stars. You're going to see planets. You might see a comet. You might see, you know, shooting star kind of stuff. But if you see something other than those things, then it might be a UFO. And I was like what? Yeah. And she said, you know, something moving fast. Obviously, something faster than the technology that we currently have, moving in ways that no terrestrial vehicle could move without killing everybody inside. You know, 90-degree angle turns, and, you know, zipping off from a zero stop to going whatever mile an hour, or just disappearing, being in the sky and then disappearing. I mean, she was going through all the things that we might see. Yeah. And, you know, and someone asked her, well, are we going to see a structured vehicle? You know, a vehicle? Does vehicles come down? Right? She's like, I've done 400 tours, and I've seen about 5 structured vehicles. So they're not common. You don't see them 200 feet in front of you usually when you go out on a UFO tour. If you do, it's a 1 in 500 kind of thing. Apparently in Sedona. Yeah. So, you know, it started immediately. Once we got the goggles, people donned the goggles and looked to the sky, and right away, woman was like, I see something moving across the sky, and she gave her the laser. She clicked up there so we could all go to where the laser was, and it looked like an orb. It looked like a white ball of light, just absolutely zipping across the sky. just like zipping right across in front of us. You know, I don't know how high in the atmosphere it was. It could be low in the atmosphere and look big, or it could be huge and be very far away in the atmosphere. I couldn't really tell, but it was certainly something that was luminescent, and it was moving much faster than anything I'd ever seen in my entire life. So that was my first UFO. She runs a program where if you don't see a UFO on her tour, you get your money back. Wow. She's had 550 tours now. Never has given $1 back to anybody.
Wow.
Nice.
In fact, that first day, we saw 50.
Crazy.
50. Wow.
50. Over the course of an hour and a half, from an hour after sunset to 2.5 hours after sunset, we saw about 50 just looking at the eastern sky
Yeah.
in
Wow.
Sedona.
That's crazy.
You know, we saw the orbs zipping across. Most of them look like that. Kind of looked like the Space Invaders game back from the 1980s.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it looked, although we weren't shooting at it.
Yeah.
Just zipping across the sky.
Yeah, the lasers.
But we saw some that, you know, that were in tandem, you know, going right next to each other or one behind the other. We saw some that just appeared and then disappeared, which she called jumpers, jumping from one place to another in the universe because the technology was so advanced. We saw some that just, we'd be looking out and then we'd just see it like appear.
Yeah.
And then zip across, right? And then you'd watch it until it disappeared, you know, until it got out of our atmosphere. But people started using the lasers, like she said, pointing in front of the objects. And they would flick the thing 3 times. And not every time, but on occasion, one of the objects would blink back 3 times, just from our 3 blinks with the laser.
Really? That's weird.
And everyone's like, what was that?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, that shows that there's either intelligent life on that vehicle or it's being controlled by intelligent life.
Yeah.
Because they just responded to you. They did what you asked them to do.
Yeah.
And she goes, you want to try something else? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, try something else. She goes, do it again, and they might power up. I'm like, power up? What do you mean? She goes, it'll get much brighter, much bigger, and then you won't see it. It'll go so fast. You know, like Star Trek, kind of like
Yeah.
warp speed. You know what I mean? They're gone. And they did it a couple times, didn't do it, but one of them it did. The thing was like this and glowing, really bright, got even bigger and more illuminated, and then bam, it was like it just disappeared, but I think it was because it was going so fast we couldn't even see it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my first experience. All those things.
How can you not just
So I was like,
become a believer after that?
Something's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
But something's going on, and someone's not telling us something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I can see what I saw with a Generation 3 night vision goggle, what can the United States see? What can China see? What can Russia see?
Yeah.
You know, they have much better technology. I got my glasses for $3,000, you know, in San Francisco from an organization that makes optics.
Yeah.
You know, and anyone could get it. $3,000. You know, the United States, I'm going to guess, has better equipment.
Maybe.
Just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit.
Maybe.
Outside of the tour, what other experience? What else have you experienced on your own outside of the tour?
I mean, most from 2015 to 2019, it was the tours. Really, we went on tours. We didn't really look at the sky other than the tours.
Okay.
But then I retired in 2019, and I moved to Sedona. So my wife and I talked her into it. I need those glasses.
Yeah.
So I got the glasses, and we go out. We like to say every night, but maybe twice, 3 times a week. We'll go out in the backyard and just get one of those reclining chairs, and we'll just sit there with the goggles, passing them back and forth, using the laser and counting them up. And, you know, we've had as low as 30 and as high as over 100, to be honest.
Over 100. Wow.
That's crazy.
Just looking in the eastern sky over the course of an hour and a half.
Just right in your backyard.
Right in the backyard.
Wow.
Right in the backyard.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, there's some speculation that there's a portal or a wormhole where vehicles can come from one part of the universe to another very quickly. And they seem to think there's one in Sedona.
Okay.
Possibly in the eastern sky above Sedona, possibly above Cathedral Rock. I mean, it is kind of obvious that there's a hand in the middle of the rock pointing up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look up. Just look up. You'll see something.
Yeah.
And then you can at least question it. You say, what is it? I mean, even after seeing it, some people on that tour where I saw all those things happen, they left going, it was lights, it was reflections, it was, people with a Batman signal. It was like all kinds of, they'd make up anything that they could rationalize because they didn't believe in UFOs. They didn't believe in the fact that they ever existed. They think we are alone in the universe and the smartest and most intelligent species in the universe.
What do you have to say to those people?
I'm going to call bullshit on that. I'm going to call bullshit on that. We got a billion galaxies with billions of stars and billions of planets orbiting them.
Yeah.
Is there another one somewhere? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it would be a little egotistical to think that we are the smartest and most enduring species in the universe. The universe is many billions of years old, so there could be technology millions of years past where we are now, or even billions of years past where we are now. So my educated guess, we are not alone.
I just don't know how somebody can see all that stuff and be like, nah, it's not real.
Not just that, but again, the probability of us being alone in the universe is pretty low, like you said.
Well, something's going on.
Yeah.
Something's going on. If I'm seeing that just above the eastern sky in Sedona, it's happening all over the world. It's like a superhighway up there.
Yeah.
It's a superhighway. So it is an issue that governments should be taking very seriously. And they probably are behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But if the extraterrestrial races, and I do think there's more than one, wanted to hurt us, they would have already done so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fairly easy to do it. If they have the technology that's so superior to us, they could just come down and control us. They could come down and take over. They could come down and hurt us if they wanted to, get rid of us, eradicate us, whatever. So bottom line is the fact that they haven't done that leads me to believe the people that land on the side of them wanting us to join them in the cosmos. Get up there. But we're not quite there yet because we're still killing each other down here.
Yeah.
And we're making a mess of our planet down here. So bottom line is we have to prove that we are worthy enough to go into the cosmos and not make a mockery of it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I think is going on. So I think disclosure, I mean, the governments are kind of slowly coming out. As you can tell, the United States, the CIA come out and said, yeah, something's going on. We'll look into it.
Yeah.
NASA said, there's something going on.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
I feel like people are so desensitized now to stuff, though, where information will come out and they'll be like, nice. Yeah. I'm like, what? Anybody else find this completely interesting?
Well, they're doing it slowly. It's like putting a frog in the boiling water.
We do not suggest putting any frogs in boiling water.
No, you put them in regular water, but then you turn it on if you're having frog legs.
Yeah.
And then never mind.
Yeah.
He gets accustomed to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get accustomed to it, and then
poor frog.
Then your reality. Okay.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, people have their own. We all believe what we believe, and we look for other things to substantiate our belief.
Yeah.
To say, oh, I'm right about the way I think. And you can find it anywhere. You could think anything, and there's a channel, there's a podcast, there's whatever you'd like to verify and confirm that you're correct.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah.
What you think, absolutely 100% the way to go. So that's why everyone's so desensitized to it. And I think that's part of the plan. They want people to be desensitized to it so that when they do come down, it's not a shit show. And people will be like, okay, we were waiting for you. How you doing? We knew you were coming.
About time to show up.
Yeah. Somebody need you to sign in right over there.
So do you think we'll see it in our lifetime?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I firmly believe that the American ideals of democracy are something that extraterrestrial races like about the United States, and they would like to see our planet, first the United States live by those ideals, and then the rest of the planet live by those ideals. Yeah. And if we could actually live by those ideals, then I think they'd be okay with us going up and joining them as interstellar travelers. But until that happens, we're not getting on board.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, that's not to say that some of those things that I saw in the sky might not be United States, Russian, or Chinese.
Yeah.
Because Roswell, there was a crash. There's crashes in Russia all the time. There's crashes in China all the time. You know that they went out and got those vehicles and reverse engineered that technology. So some of that stuff we might have been able to reverse engineer, and now we have those zero gravity vehicles that are bopping around the universe. We could be up there now, as far as I know. I mean, those 70 things or 50 balls of light that went across the sky, maybe 5 of them are ours and 65 of them are not extraterrestrial, or 65 are ours and 5 are extraterrestrial. Who knows? But we could be up there. If I asked Joanna Lovejoy that on a UFO tour, she would say unequivocally they're all extraterrestrial.
Yeah. Yes.
So I disagree with her on that.
Yeah.
I think we could also be up there.
What led you into that realm? Because I know that we've had a couple conversations about manifestation, spirituality. What was kind of the door that opened you up to that?
Well, it certainly wasn't anything before Sedona.
Yeah.
So it was 2010 in Sedona. I brought my kids out here, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, and we came here because it was a couple hours from the Grand Canyon. I wanted my kids to see the Grand Canyon. I didn't know anything about Sedona. And that day, I had my first experience. I went to like a Safeway grocery store. Stories in the book, and it's 100% true. I went there. I shopped for everybody. It was like $200 worth of stuff. I was coming back down the aisle, and a woman was walking towards me, and we kind of locked eyes. And it was like, I know you. I was like, I know you. So we kind of stopped, and we talked for like 5 minutes, back and forth. Turns out she was a nurse from Salt Lake City. And I told her I was a teacher from Dragut, blah, blah, blah. And we were talking for about 5 minutes, and she just looked at me, and she said, can I hug you? And I was like, man, that's kind of freaky. I'm in the middle of a packed. It was 5 o'clock. It was packed. Everyone got out of work. They're going to the Safeway, get their food for the weekends, the whole 9 yards. And I was just like, all right, come on in. So she came in and she started hugging me. About 10 seconds, 20 seconds went by, and she whispers in my ear. She goes, you have to hug me back. So I was like, all right, I'm all in. I put my arms around her, and we hugged for like 30 seconds. And it felt really good. But after that 30 seconds, she whispered in my ear, you feel empty to me. And I was like, it's interesting.
That's a weird pickup line.
Well, it was interesting because, it was a year after my dad died. I was still grieving. I was still actively grieving. And I was sad. I was sad. It was grief-stricken. I lost my dad and my mom previous to him, several years before that. And, I did feel empty. I felt exactly the way she said I felt. And I went through, put my stuff through, and I stopped. I couldn't even leave. She went through, and I stood there, and she's like, I'm guessing you waited for me? I was like, I did. And she goes, you have questions? I'm like, I have a million, but can I have another hug? And she gave me a hug. And I was like, I felt positive energy when I hugged you. I felt you exuded positive energy. It made me feel lighter. It made me feel like I was filling up with spiritual energy. And she said, yeah. She goes, I'm an empath. It's just like, sometimes I can help people that way, and sometimes I take some of their negativity away from them, and I have to watch out for that. But a lot of the times I can exude positivity and fill them up. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. That was awesome. And that was like a 10-minute little Safeway kind of thing that happened within 15 minutes of arriving in Sedona. So I knew something was up in Sedona. The next day we went to Bell Rock, and I started feeling feelings of euphoria and ascension, just climbing the monolith, and, we stopped and we sat on rocks. We did a little meditation. I could feel a little tingling going on, like something was happening. I was feeling some energy. So right from the first day and the first week I was there, everything I did seemed to show me that there was some energy in this place. There was some energy in this place. And it seemed like the earth was healthier in Sedona than maybe in some other places in the world. Wow. Because, I feel good in New England, too. I feel good in New England. I feel good in the woods. I feel good in nature, and that's energy, too. We're all alive. That's energy, too. But for some reason in Sedona, it was concentrated. It was concentrated and powerful. And it wasn't just in like one spot. I found it to be the entirety of Sedona.
Nice.
Yeah, and I still do, thankfully.
Is it just Sedona, or is there any?
You know, as you go to Cottonwood or Flagstaff or Camp Verde, within like 5, 10, 15 miles of Sedona, as I'm driving away, I always feel a little less spiritually elevated. It just like it kind of is. It's a bummer when you leave.
Okay.
You know, and it always feels awesome when you come back. It's just like, oh my God, I'm back. This is awesome. You know, and then you get used to it. When you live there, I was surprised. When I lived there, I was like, okay, now I'm kind of getting into it, and this is my normal.
Yeah.
You know, so I got to go out of my way to do more meditation, more yoga, more psychic readings, more medium readings, you know, all that stuff. I got to go out of my way to do that now, whereas I was feeling that way just upon being there before. But living there, you really have to put more work in than you do when you visit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to go out and just experience Sedona. As I mentioned, I've been there once, but I was in and out.
Right.
Drove in, I filmed something for 20 minutes, sunset, and then left.
How'd you feel?
I felt tired. It was a long drive out there, and it was a long flight. And to go there for 20 minutes and then leave, it was something.
If you stayed an extra hour, you probably would have saw some aliens.
I probably would have. I probably would have.
You may see some with your naked eye too.
Yeah, I'm seeing one right now.
Are you a Pleiadian? What are you? Arcturian?
We gave it away.
I pegged you for an Arcturian. The arc of your head.
Oh, that's great. One thing I did want to say was when you talk to someone that really does not believe in any of that stuff, in spirit and like spirituality, you know, there being another, like what happens to like your soul or anything afterwards, like whatever maybe. What do you have in a conversation with them? If you have a conversation with them, like what do you say to them?
Well, I mean, I can tell you right away. I mean, I'm related to people who don't believe in anything I talk about.
Yeah.
You know, when I talk about UFOs, they shake their head.
Yeah.
You know, scientists, people who just absolutely 100%, that can't be true. You know, I still love them. They're family.
Yeah.
But until they come out and they witness it for themselves, I throw them a mulligan because bottom line is I was skeptical too.
Yeah.
You know, I was skeptical too. But we recently had a relative, she's probably 80, very, very, you know, down to earth, salt of the earth, you know, probably keeps a lot in and doesn't share a lot with other people. But she was in my backyard with her friends. And so they saw all the things in our backyard for that hour and a half. And, you know, probably like 25 to 50 UFOs. But that night, we also saw orbs really close, like white orbs and opaque orbs that you could see through that were dancing around in front of us. Like she was looking through the glasses, this lady, right? And she goes, Tom, there's orbs jumping all around me in your house. I'm like, no, there's not. It's not orbs. I've never seen an orb. I've been living here for 3 years. I haven't seen any orbs jumping around my house. That's ridiculous. She goes, just look. So I took them. I'm like, oh my God. There's orbs all over the place. There was orbs. They looked like they were dancing. Like dancing above the house, dancing around us. And I was just like, first of all, this isn't for me. This show, whatever this is not for me and Mindy, because we've been living here for 3 years.
Yeah.
I go, did you, either of you two have something big happen recently? And the lady that she brought goes, my husband died 3 months ago. I said, well, he's saying hello. He's saying hello, because the spirits have a multitude of ways to contact you. And that, to me, was no question a message. And it wasn't a message to me and Mindy. We would have got it by now.
Yeah.
You know, it was a message for one of them. And the relative didn't have anything major in the recent past that was going on. But this lady was like, my husband died a couple months ago. And I was like, immediately thought, he's saying hello. He's doing okay. He's telling you he's all right.
Yeah.
You know, you can go on with your life. You know, and she wrote me a card bag, and she did it herself, and it was all filled with orbs. And she wrote in the middle, I'm a believer. I'm a believer. Thank you so much for coming into the backyard and looking at and helping me look at the stars and the sky.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So I mean, things happen that you just can't quantify. That you can't use our conventional physics and science to make sense of. You know, at some point in the future, we'll have technology and it'll all make sense. But right now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to anybody.
Yeah. Now, do you have any recorded documentation of anything that you've seen? Have you ever been able to capture anything?
Capture anything, like a structured vehicle? No, I've never seen a structured vehicle that I took a picture of. I did see one structured vehicle. It's in the book.
Yeah.
I've seen with my naked eye things that were the size of basketballs going across the sky low in the air, but I've never. I mean, there's two things I do have pictures of.
Yeah.
One is a picture. Actually, yes, I do. I have one. I have actually 3 pictures that I took as it was going across the sky. So I have it. Kind of looks like the moon, but it's not the moon. That's how big it is and how low it was in the sky.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a video.
Yep.
So you would just see it and go, whatever, you did that in your bathroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I do have a couple of pictures like that. And I also have a picture when I was in Jerome, which is a city on the hill about 20 miles from Sedona, where I brought Mindy to do a sunset on a sunset veranda there. And it was rainy and crappy and cloudy the whole day. And I was like, this isn't going to work out well. She goes, let's keep going anyway. We'll go to Grapes across the street. It's a nice restaurant anyway. We'll just go there. So it's raining. It's nasty. 6:04 or something was sunset. We got there at 6. It was pouring, dark, gloomy. On my parents' souls at 6:04, like it was like the whole clouds just split, and right down the valley was a sunset like you wouldn't ever believe. It was just streaked down there. It was like 1 mile after another, all the way down to Sedona, and it was bright. It was luminescent, and it was incredible. And we just both looked at each other like, I mean, I knew something was going on, and I knew it was something that was more than natural. And, you know, like tears were coming down my eyes. I mean, I was feeling it. I was feeling that this was something special, but I didn't know what exactly happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it only lasted like 3 minutes. It's like sunset, sun gone. It's like, poof, poof. We went over and we ate, right? And Mindy was going through the pictures because she took a picture of it.
Yeah.
And she just turned it and she showed it to me. And above the sunset, you see the valley and you see the sun cracking through the valley. And then you see what looks like 2 figures, like one a little taller than the other, in kind of an embrace, looking towards us, right? And I just looked at her and I immediately sensed that it was a message from my parents. It was a message from my parents like, we're okay. Don't worry about us. We're someplace where there are no worries and there is no angst. Yeah. You know, you go on with your life. You're doing a good job. It's kind of the message that I got. And I went to a dozen people with that picture. No one can make heads or tails out of it. Yeah. It's not the film. It wasn't something that happened with the camera. No one can give me a plausible explanation for those 2 figures that are in that picture.
Wow.
You know, so I felt it. He who feels it knows it. That's what I feel it happened. It was a message for us, only for us probably.
Yeah.
And we're probably the only ones that saw it.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, it didn't seem like there was any other plausible explanation.
Wow.
And I know how I felt.
Yeah.
While it was happening.
Yeah. I mean, you know, how could you not feel anything when you're seeing it?
When you see and feel it at the same time,
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. It kind of takes over your whole body. It's like when you start filling up with this spiritual energy and you have ascension and introspection and you're like, yeah, for sure.
So we're booking our flights to Sedona.
Yeah, we're booking our flights. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I believe in aliens, but I am skeptical on the metaphysics and
Sure.
all of that stuff.
Yeah,
but,
sure
you know,
thing.
I try to keep an open mind to some stuff, but yeah, I would love to.
You're
I'd love to
talking-
experience Sedona.
When you say metaphysics, you're talking like the medium kind of part?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, again, skeptical when I first went. But one time I had an appointment, and this is in the book as well. It's a true story. I was with Mindy. It was our first time in Sedona. And we were sitting in the hotel looking out the veranda, you know, at the beautiful Red Rocks. and I had an appointment with the medium the next day at 11 o'clock. And I heard, like, telepathically and felt, bring her, like overwhelming sense of bring her. And I was like, where and who? You know? But I mean, I was in Sedona, I was with Mindy, so there's the who, and I had an appointment the next day. It had to be the where.
Yeah.
Right? Because it had to be something I could make sense out of. You know, it couldn't have been something far off that took a lot of thinking, because I couldn't have done it. The universe knows that.
You only give him what he can handle.
Only give him what he can handle.
Yeah.
So I called my medium. I said, hey, can I bring Mindy? She's like, yeah, bring Mindy. Mindy's like, I'm just going to come and watch. I'm like, I don't think so, but come on. We get there. I sit next to the medium. She sits way on the other side, right? Way on the other side of the room. And she starts going on, you know, about my life. And this was before we were married, right? And she goes, you're going to have a daughter that lives in Sedona. I'm like, really? I got two daughters, one in D.C., one in New York. And they both left their jobs. They're not moving anywhere. She goes, no, not them. Do you have another daughter? And at the time, I was like, no, I don't have another daughter. But Mindy had a daughter. And she said she'd be living with us 5 years from that date. And she was living with us 5 years from that date. I didn't know it then, but that's how she started. And then she goes, Mindy's spirit guides are nudging your spirit guides out of the way. I'm like, well, go with it. Go with it.
Yeah.
She said, do I have your permission to go with it? I'm like, yep, go with it. And she stares at this blank wall, all right, just a blank wall. And she sees, what she says is symbols that give her the questions that she asks. You know, they communicate with her, you know, the only way they know how, and she tries to make the best sense out of it and then ask questions or whatever. So she turns. She's looking like, yep, whatever. And then she turns and she goes, so which one of you is still married? And I was like, I've been divorced for 2 years. And I stared at Mindy. And Mindy was like, oh my God. She goes, I'm still married. I'm like, I mean, I already knew. I knew she was still married, but she'd been separated for 10 years. You know, and we were getting pretty close, like to the point where I was going to like pop the question and we were going to get married, and she was still married. Right? I knew it. Yeah. But to have her say it was like, yeah. In fact, at the end of the thing, she goes, Tom's spirit guides, they're pointing at their watch going, tick-tock, tick-tock. Like, get going, get divorced so you can get on with your life, you know? And that was one of the 4 huge issues that she had to deal with that day with the medium. One had to do with her dad, one had to do with her siblings, one had to do with another family member. Very specific, very situational, things that she would never know. Things that she would never know. So, I mean, I just sat there like my jaw was on the ground. And she was just bawling. That's all I could say. She cried through the whole thing because it was so close to home and it was so accurate, and everything that she needed to do, because she's a bit of a procrastinator, she had to do. And it was the universe saying, hey, come on. You got the time. You have the ability. Take care of business, and specific business. And it was like, and Mindy's been going back to her for 8 years now. Wow. You know, and she's, you know, she's a frequent flyer. I do once a year if I can, and I usually float the large fee that she now charges to have one of my relatives do it once a year. It's like $350 now.
How long of a session?
When I first started, it's an hour. When I first started, it was $75 for an hour, and you got the audio of it.
Oh, okay.
Right, you get the audio of it, so you can go back and listen to it. Yeah. Now it's $350, and you still get the audio. Well, that's good. But she's so good. Yeah. She's such a real deal as far as a medium is concerned that she just decided, I have a family. I'm not going to do, 8 appointments a day. She goes, I'm good enough, and I have a good enough clientele, big enough clientele, where I'm going to raise the price to something that is, people might have to stretch for, but they know that I'm worth it. Yeah. And she does it, and she gets $350, and she does like 2 a day. Nice. But that's $3,500 a week, and you can do the math.
Yeah. It's not bad for working 2 hours a day.
It's not bad for working a couple hours a day. But she also says she doesn't work a couple hours a day because Spirit does try to contact her a lot. And she said she actually had to set like guidelines with Spirit. Like, you know, from 7 to 8 in the morning, I'm going to open the channel. You can talk to me.
Yeah.
And she opens the channel, obviously, during a reading.
Yeah.
You know, but you can't have your whole life dominated by the spirit world. And even she knows that. So she puts a kibosh on that.
I'd love to have been there for that conversation between her and the spirits, being like, so listen, all right, I need my sleep, I need my morning coffee.
I got 2 kids, I got a husband.
Yeah. You have me between these hours.
That's
all right?
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I believe it's exactly what she said to them, and they complied because they want her to be a conduit for them.
Nice.
And if she can be an excellent conduit for that amount of time, as opposed to a half-ass conduit all the time, they're going to go with the former. So, you know, she's still doing a great job down in Sedona.
That's awesome. When we go down, because I feel like you're not going to believe until you experience something.
What?
I feel like that's how it is for like everybody, right? I mean, you said
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
it's
some-
not
similar,
any-
I've experienced that. So.
Mostly everyone's a skeptic initially.
Yeah.
Again, I try to believe that there's a scientific explanation for everything, but yeah, I try to stay open to other people's beliefs and stuff like that, and I try not to be as skeptical sometimes and try to be open to it, but yeah, I think if anything's going to change my mind, it sounds like Sedona's going to be it.
Yeah.
Again, I still believe in aliens.
It's like I want to make that sure. I want to
make that clear.
Yeah.
One leg up.
Yeah.
One leg up already.
Yeah. We'll get you there. I'd
Well, whenever you're out that way, you let me know.
oh yeah.
Any of you guys.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, anybody, if I'm available, someone's coming through Sedona, I like to see them.
Yeah. All right, you heard it here. So for anybody,
Well,
just,
I don't.
we'll
I don't
put
get
his
bombarded, but if you-
direct
if you have
phone
it-
number right here on the screen.
And if you could just write into that camera, what is your address?
Yeah, and social security number. That would be great. Just share that.
No, I've had people come through. Not so much, you know, 2020 and 2022, not so much. But after that, things started to open up a little bit, and people were coming out and getting out of their house and going on vacations, and people were coming to the West Coast and bombing up the Phoenix to Sedona and to Utah to Vegas to California, wherever they were going. And if they were coming through Sedona, a lot of them said, "Hey, Mr. Walsh, you around on Facebook?" And I ended up going on hikes with a couple people. I had some people in my backyard. I had, we went to the stupa, the Buddhist stupa with a few people. I mean, had just a blast, just reconnecting. Had pizza in the sunset with a few, just cool. Like, not all day. Yeah. I'm like, but a couple hours of my time for someone coming through and they want to know where to go. And they want trying to narrow down their hikes. They didn't want me to go on all their hikes and all their Jeep tours and all the other stuff that they were going to do, but they did want to hear where I went and what hikes I liked, which ones were easy, which ones were moderate, which were hard, where did you feel ascension, where did you feel introspection, that kind of thing, and I could certainly help them. Oh, where to eat.
Yeah. More important than anything.
More important than anything, where to eat.
Like, listen, I don't give a shit about the aliens. Where can I get a good
Where's
steak
the
and
best
cheese?
coffee?
Yeah. Coffee. Where's the best
Thankfully,
coffee?
it has the word coffee in it. It's the coffee pot. Oh, yeah. Coffee pot. Everyone loves the coffee pot.
Yeah, so today's segment is sponsored by the Coffee Pot. It's also sponsored by 41st Studios, which we're here right now.
Is that where we are?
That is where we are.
Oh.
Yes. And which part of the studio are we in right now, Gerry?
Is this the podcast area?
This is the podcast area.
What's so special about this area?
It's special.
It is special.
How do you feel over here? How's the energy over here, Tom?
I feel good here.
You feel good?
I do feel good.
The energy of the space
You
is
guys make me feel good. You have from the day I walked in here.
That's great. I mean, a lot of the energetic feeling in the space I give up to my wife, Kim, who had a hand in a lot of this, including just the area here with all of the set dressing and decor that you see and that you feel. She went through, she cleansed everything also. But the cool thing about this is that, you can change it up however you want. So it can make sense
modular.
for a podcast. Very modular.
My guess
is
that people in this space are vibrating at a higher frequency. Just throwing it out there.
Is that what that is?
No, it's me. I'm playing footsie with
Everything vibrates in the universe. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. Some are dense, some are light. Higher the frequency, the lighter it is. Feeling light density here.
Light density. That's good. So you hear that. If you want to feel light density, come to 41st Studios.
Without question.
Without question. Oh man, that's Well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's a good segue to something. I don't know what, but no, I'm excited to go to Sedona at some point, and
Indeed.
we'll let you know when we're there. I will say it's funny that you mentioned the sunset earlier. That was the one thing when I was in Arizona briefly. Was I remember the sunset was beautiful. It was something about
Gorgeous.
gorgeous.
And they're all different.
Gorgeous.
They're all different every night. Sometimes they're just beautiful, and sometimes they're spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one night I went down with my wife and my daughter Carly, and no one said a word. It was just like streaks. It was cloudy, and there was just streaks of puffy orange light everywhere. Orange and red and hues were magnificent, and that is the best sunset I've ever seen in my entire life. I haven't seen another one like that since then or before, but all of them are beautiful.
Yeah.
All of them are beautiful, but every once in a while you get one where you just jaw-dropping unbelievableness. Is that a word?
I think
my wife likes to throw "ness" at the end of everything, so I'm gonna go with "ness."
you're a pain in the ass. Yes. So I know that you have Golden Soul out,
Yes.
right? The audiobook is coming out soon.
Yes.
Whenever this comes out, it might already be out. If it is, we're going to include all of the information in the description of the
Nice.
video for people to find it. But you're working on another one.
I am.
You're working on another book.
I am.
Do you feel comfortable sharing anything about what your next book's going to be about?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't have the name yet,
Yeah.
but it's going to be a continuation of Golden Soul.
Okay.
But not no personal reflection on events. So it's not loosely based on personal history. It's more based on history in the 20th century. And it's basically the story of UFOs from 1930 until today. And I use a lot of famous people, former presidents that have had UFO experiences for real. Famous people like Martin Luther King Jr., Susan B. Anthony, and others that have had experiences with UFOs in the past. And they also are in the book speaking. Some of them are factual things that they've said while they were alive, and some of them are fictional conversations.
Gotcha.
That stem from the factual information. Yeah. But bottom line is the theme is UFOs. Yep. The theme is we are not alone, and the theme is the extraterrestrials want us to get our act together so that we can join them. And it's the game plan to make that happen.
Golden Sky.
Golden Sky. I like that. I was going to go with Golden Souls of Democracy, but it seems really serious.
I mean, yeah, no, that has a ring to it. Golden Soul. I'm just going to think they're getting a super political
As long as
book,
we're still a democracy when the book comes out.
That's true. That's true. So can you get the book out in about another 3 months? Yeah. Oh, God.
So I don't know the title yet, but as I get closer, I'm about halfway through.
Yep.
As I get closer on that, I'll probably ask for some help from some of the people who buy my books.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let them know what it's about and what I'm considering, and let them help me narrow it down.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that as well, and voting for the name. So I'm gonna throw in Golden Sky for Jerry.
Golden Sky. I like Golden Sky.
Yeah. It could.
Golden Sky. Sky Soul, I think, was one of the ones that I was going to go with for that.
Sky Soul.
Yeah, I was going to go Sky Soul.
I think Golden.
But then then I wanted to use former students' names in my book.
Yeah.
And there's about 10 of them that I use in the book.
Yep.
And one of them, because I wanted, my parents used to call me the Golden Boy when I was younger.
Okay.
So I liked using that last name, and I had a student by the name of Tony Golden, who I had in class. Yep. So I asked him, as well as 9 other people who I had in class that I thought would be good names for the different people that were the Sedona fixtures in the community. And I asked them to use their name, and every one of them said yes. Yeah. And I said, it's all going to be positive. It's not going to be anything negative about your name. I'm not going to use anything negative. And you're going to be people that I have met in the community and had phenomenal relationships with, and who have taught me something.
Nice.
And they all said yes. And they all got a free book out of the deal, signed.
Nice.
Apparently, Michael Keslak did not have a good ring for a book. I'm just throwing that out there. But no, I think that's awesome, and also a cool way to, tie in just former students. Yeah, what you feel
Well,
like you like
bottom
to do.
line is, I shared a lot of my life with
Yeah.
those kids.
Yeah.
And they always
20 years?
they always said, if you're going to write a book, you should include some of these stories. If you want to erase the stigma of mental illness, telling stories about it is one good way to do it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Instead of stashing it away and not talking about it.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle that a lot of people are going to have to jump through to destigmatize the view around mental health? Like, how are we going to get there? And in your opinion?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is recognize that abnormal psychology, which is the study of mental illness, is just a continuum of behavior. It's a continuum of behavior, and it's getting labeled and stigmatized. But everyone has their own personality. Everyone has their own biological makeup. Everyone has their own environment that they're dealing with. So the combination of the environment and what you're born with genetically kind of determines who you are, if you will. And people are people, and there's a huge spectrum of people and their behavior. But if you have behaviors or thoughts that get to the point that they're interfering with your life in some way, to the point where you can't really function socially, or you can't function intellectually, or you can't function physically, then you got to step forward and ask for help, because the help is out there. Mm-hmm. The help is out there. That one step can lead you to a point where you can change your entire life for the better. And it may not include medication. For me, it did. But other people have used talk therapy, have used cognitive behavioral therapy to change the way they think, to change how they feel, to change how they act. Yes, you need a professional to help you with that. But I'll tell you what, if you have decent insurance, and I know everyone doesn't, but if you have decent insurance, it's usually $10 or $20 a session with insurance, and you can get a professional to help you with your day-to-day life stuff as well as your mental health issues. And you can do it from the privacy of your home through remote, or you can go see people if that's your thing. But the help today is so readily available that there is no reason really, unless you don't have any insurance, and then we got to talk about that. Like everyone, we're the only industrialized country that doesn't have nationalized health care, universal health care. But anyway, don't get me going.
Yeah.
I know you get me started.
The
You get me started
the
on
next
that.
podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for the people who don't have insurance. They can't get help anywhere, physical or mental health.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part of that situation. But bottom line is people who have access to the healthcare system should use it if they can, And it's not, you don't take everybody's advice as the gospel. I fired so many psychiatrists and so many psychologists during the course of my 30 years of taking medication and seeing psychologists. I fired many of them. Yeah. Because they didn't care, they weren't empathetic. I found that unfortunately mostly men were the least empathetic and the women were more empathetic, so I kind of have leaned towards women doctors for that very reason. I have a couple of male doctors, but the bulk of them are female because I just tend to relate to them better. They relate to me a little bit better, and that seems to work. But you do you. You're in charge. If there's someone you're talking to and you're not getting that vibe like this is working, it's not. Believe it, because if you feel it, you know it. Dump them and get somebody else until you get someone you like. Once you trust someone, then the breakthroughs start to happen.
Nice.
It's all about trust.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like now we're at a point in time where a lot more people are talking about mental illness.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I was growing up, where I'm sure you can relate to this too, that's something that was never really talked about.
Right.
And nobody really explored options back then. But I feel like now we're at a point in time, especially after COVID, everybody was depressed after COVID and everybody had like all these different mental issues after COVID. I feel like a lot of people are starting to finally open up to it. So, yeah.
If anything good can come from the coronavirus,
Yeah,
I'll take
hopefully
it.
it's that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that for sure.
Yeah. Well, I ended on a happy note talking
Yes.
about coronavirus.
Yes.
Yeah. If we could take anything positive away from corona.
I was going to add to that, Gerry.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to add to Gerry, the answer to Gerry. I was going to add that I've found historically, and I think it's true today, is that it's mostly the people who do come forward and ask for help, mostly women.
Yeah.
Guys, I think you were trying to get at that. Like,
Yeah.
guys grew up, at least in my generation, with the suck it up mentality.
Yep.
You know, you don't show any weakness. You know, you show strength constantly. Anything that shows weakness, you hide, you push down, so no one can ever see it.
Yeah.
That may work in some situations, but it's going to come back to bite you down the road, because that stuff works its way back through your unconscious and your subconscious into your conscious, and then your life is affected.
Yeah. Then you end up losing all your hair.
Exactly. I choose to shave, but yeah, I understand.
I don't.
But that's why guys have to, not live so much by the boy code. Being masculine all the time and being strong
that's what I was taught
all
as a
the
kid,
time. Because guys are much more likely to drink and do drugs in order to deal with those emotions that they have, that depression, that crippling depression, or that panic attack that lasts 20 minutes and they think they're going to die. They tend to go, I'm not going to step forward and say I have a weakness.
Yeah.
So if this drinking helps me get through the day and the night and maybe into the next day, that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I did it through my entire 20s, so I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah, how do you cope?
I can't say that on air.
Well, I've been pretty honest here, Gerry, so I expect the same from you.
Okay. I cope by pushing it all down like I was taught as a child and never crying, because crying is weakness.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't just my generation then.
Yeah, no.
It was yours
It
as
was,
well.
a lot. It's your generation that started to really open up.
Yeah, I mean, I cried before we started.
Yeah.
That's why I had to go to the bathroom right before.
So you cry at least 3 times a day?
Yeah,
Nice.
because you, it's
I'm
you.
usually-
It's you.
yeah,
It's because of you.
yeah.
Whether you need it or not.
Exactly. Yeah, I always need it. No, I agree with that. I feel like when I was younger, I used to, because my dad, always a great guy, but also, when I was younger, it was the type of, it was tough to show emotions. And I was always someone that was actually very open with showing my emotions, but I would always try to hold back because I didn't feel like I should. Like, I remember when I was playing, I had to be 11 years old or 12 years old, and we were playing baseball, and my dad hit a line drive, and it hit the lip of the grass, came up, shattered my nose, and I gushing from both nostrils. And I remember I did not cry because I was like, I can't cry. And I just laughed, and I looked maniacal. My dad was talking to somebody that was walking their dog. And I just remember the guy say, because I was like, Dad, I think I broke my nose. And I'm laughing about it. I was like, oh, wow. And then I'm laughing. And I heard the dude say to my dad, he's like, wow, your kid's not crying. He's so tough. And I was like, yeah. Right? And then I kept holding back from crying.
That reinforced the behavior.
And it reinforced it. And I was like, and then as I got older, I started kind of allowing myself to just not care as much and try to understand that, hey, that's normal. It's a normal process of emotions for things. And I always found myself with more of a buildup and I would get more emotional when I would hold them in. So I was by just releasing stuff and being more expressive, it helped me not have those buildups where it would get to a point where it would just feel so overwhelming, and then I would just lose it and break down. And then as soon as I stopped personally just holding that stuff in, I didn't really have those types of breakdowns anymore.
Is that mine? Can you shut that off, please?
Wow. The one rule here.
No.
Actually, can you answer that?
Quiet. Silence the
Answer that
phone.
right now.
Answer it.
I'll be mailing books later this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Did you
whole
shut it
say.
off? On the side, the silent button? Yeah, silent. Yeah, Dan, you should have done that. You should have done that before. I'm blaming Dan.
Damn it, Dan.
Damn it, Dan.
Definitely blaming Dan.
How dare you? It's such an emotional moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to go cry.
I can tell you, however.
Yes.
I can tell you, however, the suck it up mentality, not the way to go for most of humankind. But the kind of tough love that I got playing sports as a kid. The coaches always used to say, life isn't easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. You're gonna get knocked down, and and you're going to have to get back up. It's good, playing for a team and bonding with your teammates was always awesome. And learning early in life that you are going to get knocked down. Like, I always thought, I can take anything on. I can do anything. I'm never going to have any setbacks. I'm going to be highly successful. It's delusional. Yeah. and then life started, and it immediately started kicking you around. Mm-hmm. And it was like, you know what? I like the fact that I have that in my repertoire, that I can come back and get up and just keep moving on with life. Because once you get those negative thoughts, those ruminate. And they kind of they get you into one of those catastrophic worst case scenario situations. And if you have any anxiety, it's going to be awful. It's going to be untenable. And take what those coaches said about coming back from adversity and then fill it with positivity and hope for the future. And then now you got something. Yeah. Now you got something. Now you got some action to get you off the couch. And now you have some emotion and feeling that you feel that can make you successful moving forward, or at least learn from your mistakes. So, I'm going to give him some credit.
Yeah.
Some credit.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think that's important. So, yeah. Yeah. Gerry?
Yes, Mike.
Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we leave it up to
no, there's
Tom
just
to ride it home?
been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah. How long we go?
Yeah, I mean, it was...
How long we go, Dan?
24% battery.
Oh, yeah. No, so
You don't have
we have at least
was it
another
an
half hour. Yeah.
Probably not over. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think it was over an hour?
Probably a little over an hour, which is pretty good.
You yapping for an hour?
Yeah. I know. It felt like 20 minutes.
What's the runtime? 1 hour 20
Are you
minutes.
shitting me?
Yeah. Nope.
That's how long it was?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to edit it a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll tighten that up a little
We'll
bit.
bring it down to an hour
I
21.
think you got to tighten that up.
Yeah.
So how?
Yeah.
You might have to like edit that because you probably want to end with the second book, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
bring
well,
back-
it'll. I like the organicness of it.
You like
Kind
the
of
organicness.
Yeah.
Mindy
There you
likes
go,
that too.
ness.
Mindy
Yeah.
likes that. She likes organicness
Ness,
as
yeah.
well. She also likes rotisserie chicken. Rotisserie. Yeah, it's not a word. Rotisserie. Yeah,
Rotisserie.
it's rotisserie.
It's
But she says rotisserie every time. She can't stop herself.
Bachelorette.
But that's her worst thing. So if you come to the table, that's your worst thing. You're all right.
Bachelorette trips me up. Bachelorette. Am I saying that right?
Bachelorette.
You said it right.
I'm saying it right.
Bachelorette.
Wait, say it again.
Bachelorette.
Bachelorette.
Yeah,
All right.
bachelorette.
Bachelorette.
Yeah.
Bachelorette.
Worcestershire sauce.
What was it?
That's like I used to not be able to say the word Connecticut. I used to,
What happened, Michael?
and I had a very good speech therapist.
Yes, you did.
His name was Gerry Vincent,
Nice.
and
That's my name.
yeah, it was weird. He looked nothing like you, and a full head of hair. And yeah, I remember I used to like stutter all over it. It was one of the only words. It was like connect. I just couldn't do it.
Connecticut.
And then Connecticut. And then one day we were on a drive,
Back from?
Connecticut.
Yes, we were.
Yeah, and then he helped me actually say it. And I remember I said it for the first time, and I freaked out. I was like, "Oh my god!"
I was so proud.
You're magical.
You're
Yes.
magical.
Yeah, this will probably edit out, but no,
We're
but
keeping that in.
Yeah, we're keeping that. No, the organicness of where the conversation led to, but one of the things that we like to do at the end of these is. Two things. One, if there's anything else that you want to say, it can be about the book, it can be about life, it can be about whatever. Whatever else you want to say, you can say it. This is your floor to share with the class. And then secondly, if there's any questions or anything that you have for us or anything that you want to throw our way, then you're open to that as well. But we always like to leave the end open for you.
Besides you needing a hug, Mike, what you
Yes.
gonna get?
I need two.
Jerry, you look like you need a hug too.
He does.
He needs some of that spiritual energy.
Yes.
I hope you feel the Safeway energy when I hug you later on.
Yes.
I hope I don't say you feel empty to me.
Feel dense. No.
No, bottom line is it's been a pleasure to be here this summer and for all future summers now. It was phenomenal to reconnect with you guys, kids from Drake High School that I had for the last 20 years through the book signing and then through Facebook and all different social media platforms. So it's been incredible. And this summer I got to see more of my family and friends from this area that I hadn't seen in 4 years. So I mean, I'm on top of the world being back here in New England. I'm kind of, my wife's like, well, I got to get back to Sedona. I'm like, I could wait a couple weeks. I could definitely wait a few more weeks. I'm liking it here.
Yeah.
And I think it's the people. It's the people. It's the people that I meet. It's the students that I had. It's the friends and family that live in this area that I have. And they keep me busy all day, and they keep me thoughtful all day, and they keep me focused all day. So I love it. As far as writing, I mean, I'm going to do some other stuff in my life besides writing, and who knows what that might be. I love doing the audiobook. Yeah. I might do some narratives, not only in my own audiobook, or maybe even some other people's audiobooks. Nice. You know, McConaughey's not available for everybody.
That's true.
He's not available for everybody.
That's true.
And I'd be much cheaper than him. He's done $100,000. I'll go 98.
That's not bad. $98? Wow.
$98,000.
Oh, well, if that's the case.
I could have got Mariel Hemingway to do mine for 50 G's.
Oh, there you go.
But I thought, Mariel Hemingway, I don't even know if anybody knows who she is anymore.
No.
You know, she's related to Hemingway. So that's impressive, just in and of that. Yeah. But 50 G's? No.
Oh, pricey.
No, I do it myself. And, you know, once it's out and other people hear it, and maybe my voice is unique, and maybe it has good intonation, and maybe I could be a narrator. Narrate some books for some people, make some money that way. Yeah. You know, who knows? But I'm certainly never going to stop writing. This is the first book, like I said, second book coming out. Really laser focused on UFOs. So if you're into that, you're going to be into the book, because that's from page 1 till the end. It's going to be all UFOs all the time. So if you like it, if you like that subject, you'll love the book. And who knows where it goes from there? It may be a continuing series, or I may go in a different direction. Who knows? It'll be a feeling that I get, and once I know it, he who feels it knows it. I'll go in that direction.
Nice. And where can people find your book?
The people can find my website at tomwalshwrites.com. That has my biography. It also has the front and back jackets of Golden Soul, so you can read what the premise is of the book. Mm-hmm. It also has a link to the Amazon link. It also has a link to the Barnes & Noble to buy it online. If you want a signed copy, you can get on Facebook and send me a message. You know, send me a message and with your address, and I'll tell you what you have to do to get a signed book sent to you.
Nice. And just so everybody that is listening to this knows how to spell it, it is TOMWALSH.
Indeed.
Tom Walsh.
Indeed.
Tom Walsh, it has been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure.
And it's so weird to call you Tom. Yeah, instead of Mr. Walsh. I am doing my best to not say Mr. Walsh all the time.
You know what? My friends from high school, and middle school and elementary school, they still call me Tommy.
Yeah?
They still call me Tommy. I go by Tommy, Tom, TJ, Mr. Walsh.
T-Money Flex.
Doesn't matter. As long as people are talking to me.
Like, I just need the attention. I don't really.
You like it when people talk to you, and they want your advice, or they want to give you some information, and they call you by a name.
Yeah. Except for when people talk to Gerry. The names that they call him, you do not want to be called.
Again, can't repeat certain things on this podcast. Yes.
That's right. Yeah, don't want to get demonetized. Because remember, we have to get monetized to get demonetized.
Exactly.
Yes.
Indeed.
But again, before we wrap this up, I just want to say thank you for being, again, such a great teacher, a great human, and somebody that was influential not only to myself, but to, I know, Dan back there behind the camera and so many other students throughout the 20 years of teaching that you had. You brought something to the classroom that was unique, that was refreshing, and that stuck with so many people that went on to affect and influence so many more. So you've created a beautiful butterfly effect, and I'm excited to see, how many more people you influence just through your books and everything else that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And with that, I'm going to let Gerry wrap this up like he always does.
Let's do this. This is my favorite part of the podcast because I have to, send us off.
Sender.
All right, send us off into that camera there.
You know the one. It's the same one every time.
No, it's not. That one's different. Me. All right. Thank you so much for watching this episode of If I Were to Have a Podcast. And a special thank you to our guest, Tom Walsh. Be sure to head over to tomwalshwrites.com.
TomWalshWrites.com.
Yeah.
Thomas
Walsh.
Thomas
Thomas.
Ness.
Bachelorette.
Miss Bachelor. Let's try that again.
Yes. Rewind.
Yes. Okay. Stop it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of If I Were to Have a Podcast, and a special thank you to our guest, Tom Walsh. Be sure to head over to tomwalshwrites.com to pick up yourself a copy of Tom's book, Golden Soul. I'm going to take that from the top again. See, I didn't have that part in my head, but afterwards I'm like, I have to give a,
You have to
give a plug for the book.
You have to.
Hang on. Let me take a sip of our future sponsor here, Liquid Death.
And you say watch or listening. That's the only change.
Yeah,
shut
shut your mouth.
You ready, Jerry?
I'm ready. All right. Thank you so much for watching this episode of If I Were to Have a Podcast, and a special thank you to our guest, Tom Walsh. Be sure to head over to tomwalshwrites.com to pick up your copy of Golden Soul, that book right there. I need a teleprompter.
No, you don't.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Good.
Hang on, let me see actually what I'm saying instead of just fucking
Visualize.
That wasn't bad.
It wasn't until it was.
Do it over.
All right. Let us sit for a minute.
This is one of my favorite parts because I make him do it every single time.
And why is that?
Because it's
Yeah.
Well, you got to have people like sameness.
They do.
That's why people go to the 99.
Yeah.
You know what the piece of chicken's going to look like
Yes.
every single time. They know how it's going to taste.
Yep,
So
dry.
the beginning and the end. The beginning and the I know you know. The beginning and the end are the most important because you're greeting people at the beginning and you're letting them walk out the door at the end. You want them to be thinking about something on the way out, and you want them to engage them at the beginning. And that's how I teach, and that's how I think any type of communication should happen. You know, get their attention, lead them in a direction where they get engaged, and then send them off with something that makes them think and makes them be a little bit more aware of their surroundings.
yeah, I like that.
That was beautiful.
So
I
that's how
just
it's
made it
gonna
up.
end. I just made it up.
It's total bullshit. It's on page 56.
It's on page.
All right, let's see if I can get through this. All right, I got this now. After those words of wisdom, I think I have it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of If I Were to Have a Podcast, and a big thank you to our guest, Tom Walsh. Be sure to head over to tomwalshwrites.com to pick up your copy of Golden Soul. And again, if you like this episode, be sure to like, button, comment, subscribe and stuff, you know, because every week episodes and things happen. And yeah. How was that?
Solid.
Solid.
TomWalshWrites.com. Pick up yourself a copy of Golden Soul.
I think it was awesome, right until the end.
And then,
All right, you got this, Jerry.
Okay. I'm not going to smile this time. I'm going to look at you in a serious manner.
and again, I should probably look at the lens, right, instead of the left of the lens.
Why would you look to the left of the
I
lens?
don't know. There was a window there.
Who's going to laugh first then in the stare contest? Me or Mike? Okay. Let's try it.
Do it right now while we're.
Let's try it. Ready?
I'm gonna send it off.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I'm so fucked. All right.
I'm gonna send it off during the staring contest. All right. Boom.
I lost. Hold on, I got this.
You don't have it.
I don't. I'm gonna try though. I'm gonna
have
try.
it, Mike. You don't
All
have
right.
it.
Hold on. All right.
You don't have it. Jerry,
Dead puppies, dead
Jerry
puppies,
needs
dead
our
puppies,
support.
dead puppies,
I
dead
do.
puppies.
Jerry needs our support.
All right.
Okay.
We got to
This is
support him.
obviously a big thing for Jerry, right?
We got him.
This is his moment.
This is his only moment.
Not his only moment, but it's his moment.
It's his moment of the day.
Yes. All right.
You got this.
You're not staring at me. You're staring at
True.
him. And
I'll
go.
close my eyes. No, I can't close my eyes.
Go.
That's serious business. Go ahead.
Serious. Thank you so much for watching.
Wasn't even him.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of If I Were to Have a Podcast. Be sure to head over to tomwalshwrites.com. It's a tongue
Whites?
twister. All right, I'm just going to take it rapid fire from
Got
the
it.
top
Go.
each time.
Go.
No more pausing. All right. Thank you so much for watching this episode of If I Were to Have a Podcast, and a big thank you to our guest, Tom Walsh. Be sure to head over to tomwalshwrites.com to pick up your copy of Golden Soul. And be sure to hit that like button if you like this video. Subscribe, because we're going to be pumping out videos every single week. And make sure to comment down below with who you want to see on the podcast next. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.
Beautiful.
Fucking nailed it!
Nailed it, brother!
First try.
Freaking
First
nailed
fucking
it.
try.
First try.
You nailed it. I gotta go to the bathroom.
All right, go.
Old guy stands up. Bathroom.
If I were to have a podcast,